Okay, so we are Orgo, and our organization started with us four, and it started from farmers. And oh, just a moment. Okay, and the mission of Orgo is empowering farmers in a transition to a more regenerative agroecological farming. And this is who we are. Sérgio Nicolau, that works with viticulture, wine producer, Francisco Alves, in a montado, there is a system in English. How can we translate this for? So it's like ancient agroforestry system with cork trees and old oaks, and integrating a lot of animals. In the case of Francisco and João, like pigs, cows, sheep, and goats, and they will explain this in much detail. João Valente also with his montado system, but beyond that also like organic no-till and row cropping. And myself, I'm the least farmer of all of us. I'm co-managing olive trees, also producing olive oil. And this is the Orgo approach, and this is the main drivers, the main driver that will lead to scale regenerative agriculture. So Orgo is focusing on a farmer to farmer coaching. So we believe like connecting with other farmers coming from a farming background that helps farmers to listen and to pay more attention to what we do, and like exchange with them in their own contexts. And we want to help these farmers on this transition, leading by example first through our own farms, but then there will be their own examples in their own contexts, helping spreading out the regenerative practices in their own contexts. The third pillar is quality driven. So we are focused on growing quality. There's a lot of conversation about yields and quantity. We focus first on quality, because that leads to higher food nutrient density, flavor, and including yields. Like in a good transition, in some cases, we have even higher yields than in conventional agriculture. And the fourth pillar, and not least important, is the inspiration. So we really feel in our skin that this kind of agriculture is much more fun. It's much more interesting. Is not reducing life, is increasing life every day to the farm, the best, increasing complexity and so on. And that brings a good feeling to everyone, and bringing the fun and life back to farming is also our mission. And this is some photos of some events where people are visiting the farms and many different things, and around this movement of regenerative agriculture. And yeah, we really want to promote this. So if just to like a reminder, if some people are not aware of what's regenerative agriculture, it's based on practices, but most important like principles. And this is some of the most agreed ones, like context-based or local-based. Every place is different climate, different soils, different people, and so on. Trying to keep always the soil covered, so the soil armor with plants, or if you don't have plants, in mulching or so on, but mostly plants, because like here in the living roots, it's very important, like the photosynthesis, feeding microbiology, putting all the system working. It's trying to keep living roots year round. And of course, least disturbance, like trying to reduce tillage to the minimum, trying to reduce maximum, like the use of pesticides and fertilizers, synthetic inputs, and so on, that will disturb the soil, and so on. And obviously increase the biodiversity at different levels, from the soil microbiome biodiversity to plants, to birds, insects, etc. And not less important, where possible, when possible, and where possible, integrate animals, livestock. Could be like from chickens to cows, or even elephants, if it's well managed. So that's the key. Like if you manage properly animals, like their regeneration can happen much quicker. So instead of a problem is solution. And I go now pass the word to talk. We talk a little bit about our stories and what we do in each our farms. So we are in Portugal. I didn't say that. And we start with João Valente in the center of Portugal.
Okay. Hi everybody. Thank you, Francisco, for the presentation. Always amazing. You are keeping up the time so well managed. Okay, so my name is João. I manage a family farm. The total amount of hectares of all the farms are around 150 hectares. 1,050 hectares. So we have, if we can divide the farm in two different systems, one would be the agroforestry system. It is composed by a system called Montado de Essa that is composed mostly by two species, Quercus rotundifolia and Quercus suber. We manage two species in the Montado that are the sheeps and the black Portuguese pig, and that is about 500 and something hectares. And then we have the other part where we do the cash crops and the cover crops. We created a rotation that is composed by, first time, a cash crop that could be a cereal or a legume. Then we make a mix of cover crops for the animals to enter in the rotation, and then another cash crop that could be also a cereal or a legume. By this way, we introduce the animals in this rotation, and we take advantage of the market that we are trying to get, and we get, of cereals and legumes, and the multiplication of seeds. The other part is the olive trees. We manage around 75 hectares of old olive trees, old varieties. We do this extra virgin olive oil. And then we still have some part of cropland which is not irrigated, where we do just rotation with a mix of cover crop for animals and then just cereal. We try to achieve as much spots to sell as we can, even in the big cities, but also around us. So by this way we can connect with the communities around us. And in the part of the species cows, we are in the system of custom grazing. So we receive animals from other organic farms and we fed them for a big group that sells organic meat. So by this way we can also help other organic farms that don't know where to put their products. So in kind of a short presentation, this is what we do. We very important. We are also engaged with studies, lots of projects in the European Union for collecting data of all the things that we do, all the systems that we implant, like the direct drill, like raising organic matter in the soil. We also do large compost. We have a large compost operation, and we are in a lot of projects to measuring different things that we think it's important, so that we can scale up this kind of approach. I think I'm not forgetting anything. Thank you.
Great. And then our next Orgo is Sergio Nicolau. And here we go.
I'm a fifth generation farmer in Portugal also. It's in very close to Lisboa, like 40 kilometers. What we do here, we certified organic since 2018. And what we are doing here is enhance soil life and always beginning in the soil and increasing organic matter and also enhancing photosynthesis of the crop. And not looking at the vineyard as a monocrop, but as a polyculture with what we do, lots of cover crops with 16 species or more, and we graze the vineyards with sheep in the winter. Now it's impossible because the vineyards are already growing and they will eat them. But in the winter we also always put the sheep and goats, also chickens. And we look a lot at plant nutrition. We're doing SAP analysis. And what we did also was coming back to old Portuguese grape varieties, not French varieties that everybody knows. We want to do high quality products, but differentiated from the rest, with Portuguese varieties more adapted to the climate and with less production, but with high quality. And that's this is a photo of the vineyards with the cover crops, and this is the wine. We firmly believe that a more nutrient dense plant will be able to express much better the terroir and give a much better quality in the wine. Thank you.
Great. And now is Francisco Alves. That is more in the south, in Montemor.
Yeah, I'm in the south of Lisbon, in a family farm of 700 hectares with montado, and we have little areas without trees that we can do some cover crops. So about 10-12 years ago, I started with a course of holistic management and regenerative agriculture, and we understand very fast what is the potential when you rotate the animals in the system, and you can do a very different management of the land if you used correct the animals. So about our contest and the type of the farm that we have, we start to make experience, and we start to put 4 different species of animals in the montado. So now we work with the cows, with goats, with pigs and sheep, and our goal is rotate the different species in the montado, and at the same time put the costs down and regenerate the soil. The different species graze different. When sheep graze, it's completely different when goat and when cow. And so the natural resource that we can measurement in the montado and with these different 4 species allowed us to produce a very high quality product, and at the same time regenerate the soil. So it's I think it's the most important thing when we understand the principles of regenerative agriculture is respect the soil and respect the animals. So we don't use we don't do any intervention in the animals, any vaccination, nothing. We don't do nothing, only rotate the animals. Yeah, and after that we want to our meat go directly to the final consumers. So we are working with restaurants, we are working with butchers that puts our meat directly to the consumer, and we are increase the sales. The people who taste the meat feel the taste, and yeah, it's our challenge and our goal is receive more people in the farm, receive a lot of intern, and share to the people that we can produce animals without damage the climate, and it's the opposite. We can regenerate the landscape with the rotational of the animals, and it's very fast, it's easy, and at the same time you don't need a lot of money to start. The animals can do it alone with the good decision of the human. Thank you.
And to finish, is my part. I'm just helping. I'm not a full-time farmer. I'm co-managing now this project of my father. So my father, several generations working with oliviculture, so production of olive oil, but never in organic, but never actually very intense. So this is the traditional spacing of olive production. Some trees have spacing of 7 by 7, and the other ones have 10 by 10. And in the previous times, they were producing cereals between the olive trees, but tilling a lot the soil. So as you can see from the top, like it's pretty degraded. And we started transition to organic a few years ago. So this is the last year of conversion. 24 will be already organic. And we are implementing several regenerative organic practices. So we stopped tills many years ago. Now we are trying to implement the first cover crops. We are like putting, for example, bird nests and bat shelters and other things at the moment. And there's a big focus here on the monitoring. So my part on Orgo is more on the research development and the monitoring part. We also do like plant biodiversity assessments to understand what is there already in the succession and try to implement cover crops based on that succession. What else? Yeah, so basically that, as you can see, is not very regenerated yet as the other Orgos, but we are on that way and learning a lot. Yeah, and so now just to finish, like just to explain the Orgo part, like why we got together last year. We met each other, all of us, in the first regenerative conference, Regenerative Agriculture Conference, where Philip, that is here in the call, organized it. And we immediately matched, and we thought like we have to do this company. This is too important to not get together, join efforts to start helping other farmers. And we are helping other farmers through coaching, monitoring, and through education. And that's so our concept is like we look at unique contexts, so unique farms with specific soils and climates and so on, and we put our 4 different brains and experiences and perspectives looking to this context, and then try to help them through our coaching. That's it's in person and also remotely, and we do different things, interpretation also of like different monitoring tools in these, and we can do also trainings on grazing, compost, ferments, and liquid compost like extracts. Some people know it as compost teas and things like that. And then the other part is the Orgo monitoring. That's very important as well, because if you don't measure, it's way more difficult to understand the things we are trying to implement. And in regenerative agriculture, there's practices we know it will work, but it's very important to monitor, because some things can work in one context and the other one not. And we focus on measuring on a plant, like some sap analysis, but also plant sap analysis, but also in the soil, like microbiology, plant bioindicators, and several other things, also soil carbon stocks, etc. That will feed the coaches like the information. So we always use feedback loops to improve the management in the field. The third part is the Orgo education. So there's quite a lot of interest also, like from schools. Actually, next Friday, I think, the Franciscan Sergio go to a school to talk about regenerative agriculture. They are interested in organic and beyond organic, like regenerative foods in their schools. Unfortunately, still from private schools where there is a little bit more money, but yeah, it's a beginning. Hopefully, like soon, all the public schools also will have regenerative organic food. Yeah, and here is just some of our partners and networks that's supporting the work we are doing. Yeah, in a quick presentation, this is what we do. And if you want to know a bit more, you can go to our website www.orgo.eco. We are pretty active also in social media, Instagrams on their own farms, and also on Orgo, and we're also in LinkedIn. Like, so yeah, maybe it's, for some people it's easier to follow on social networks, and we are there, and this is our email, so you can also contact us by email. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thanks a lot. Anybody had any questions?
Hello.
Yeah,
Thank you for the presentation. I have a quick question. What do you say to the people when they come to you and say that it is a hard transition from to regenerative agriculture, because they say that the crop amount drops when I don't use pesticides or other non-organic things. So what do you say to the people when they say they cannot transition? Because it's impossible to only, like in Turkey, it's almost impossible to
depend of the context of the farm. Depend if he's doing a monoculture, depend if he has a montado system or a big farm, depend what the goal of the project. Of course, it's more easy, depend of if you are working with a monoculture with a lot of area, the transition it's more difficult because if you stop to use pesticides, synthetic fertilizer, of course your production in the first years goes down because the soils are very poor, and if you don't do all these bad practices, you don't have any results, because the land need to rest and need different practices to help to regenerate the soil. So of course the transition, the coaching is the goal of the coaching is that it's to help the farmer to do the best decisions in the way to view the difference, and don't tell these kind of things that you are saying. I can't do that because it's impossible. And so for the other side, if you have animals, you produce animals, it's much more easy, it's much more cheap, because it's a question of management. And if you change the management with a holistic seeking, and you see and you understand how the soil function, it's very easy to help. So depend of the context, you have different tools to help the farmers.
Yes, there's what I also say is that when farmers come to me and I was a conventional farmer, so I know some of the answers. So what I usually say is what they prefer is kilograms of grapes, for example, per hectare, or do they prefer profitability or money per hectare for the same area? Because if you go to monocrop with low value crops, and you have to produce much more with much lower margins. But if you go to differentiated markets and you have a high quality product or a differentiated product, you can value it much more. And sometimes that's also what I ask. What do you want?
Always depend of the context.
Yeah.
And one thing is, like, it's like for scaling agriculture, obviously for farmers, economy comes first. And one thing that regenerative agriculture helps first is to really start reducing costs, because the systems, exactly, like it starts reducing costs. So like maybe you don't have higher yield, but you reduce the cost. Like farmers are ultra dependent on synthetic fertilizers and everything, with an increasing higher price, like with because it's moving with oil, right? So that's the first thing. Like it's some farmers in specific contexts can reduce like insanely amounts, like 50-60% of costs in the first 3 years, and that it's already a lot of money in the pocket. But what's important to understand is like this is a transition from a system that is imagine like the plants are in a substrate, like I don't know, like putting
Perfect.
in a.
Thank you. If you can close in a few seconds, because the next talk is gonna be in 30 seconds.
Okay, it's just saying like this is a transition of like from a system that is dependent on an output, from a system that is self-dependent on microbiology. We forgot that the soil and the plants work exactly like our gut, bacteria and fungi. So they have to come back to the system because this is how it works. It always worked like this. We only try to start understanding a little bit. And yeah, and I think that's the important thing. It takes a bit of time.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody.